Hi, writers, and welcome back to the 1 Minute Writing Tip podcast. I am so excited to be with you guys as we are getting into the new year. Today is another author guest. I am excited to be speaking with Natalie Lavelock. Natalie is a speaker. She's a best-selling author, a trainer, and CEO of Natalie Lavelock Coaching and Consulting. She is a sought-after online business strategist who works with coaches, speakers, health professionals who know they can make a bigger impact, but don't have the programs or products in order to make that happen. So we're going to be talking today about all different kinds of ways that you can leverage your expertise into income. Natalie, thank you so much for joining me. I'm excited to have you.
Caitlin, it is an absolute pleasure to be here. You and I have connected at multiple points in the past, and I've had you on some of my shows and as a guest at some of my events. And so it is so exciting to be here and be a guest on your show today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Natalie. So will you just get us started off by sharing about your personal background and your expertise, kind of in a nutshell for our listeners?
Absolutely. So I'm Natalie Lavelock, as Caitlin mentioned, and I am a speaker, author, trainer, coach, all of those great things. But before I was all of those things, I was also a registered nurse, and I have a master's degree in nursing education. And for over 15 years, it was my job to create and implement training programs for the doctors and nurses at the bedside for the hospital that I worked for. And then one day, I shouldn't say it was one day. It wasn't like I woke up and this magical thing happened, but it unfolded over a season, as many times things do. I was actually given the opportunity for a promotion at work, and it was exciting, and I was thinking about the next rung on the ladder and the paycheck and I had the opportunity then to help shape the direction the organization was going to be going in a greater capacity. And then God kind of did one of those things that God does sometimes. He puts something in your heart, and it's something you can't ignore. And for me, that was, Natalie, this is all good for you. This is great. But what about those 3 little boys at home? Because being their mama, that's only a job that only I can do. And I started to realize that, that bright, shiny object that I was thinking about chasing after, really, when you rub on it a little bit, lacked that luster and was a bunch of fool's gold, because the real gold is at home. And well, the real gold is in the kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Next to that, the gold is at home.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so I was kind of like, okay, God, where are we going? Where are we going with this? Because if we're not going to what the logical next step in Natalie's brain, and he's like, I want you to trust me. I want you to take a leap of faith. I want you to trust me because I want to show something to you that you never thought possible. And that was really how my business got started. And before anybody thinks, Natalie, you're this amazing person, you just took this leap of faith. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. There was lots of pain and agony and worry and fear and stewing and like, how are we going to make ends meet? And, I had all the same voices in my head that everyone has in theirs about, who do you think you are? Your kids are going to be hungry and homeless. Like, I have all of the same thoughts. And ultimately, I just had to come to that place where choosing to follow God really was the safest place for me to be. People think, oh, if I go get a job, I'll be safe. I'll have security until they get fired. People think, oh, I'll go do this thing until this thing falls through. And so really the only place that's safe is in that space of whatever it is God's calling you to. And that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. That doesn't mean it's always going to work out exactly like you had planned. But I guarantee you, and my experience has been, that when you're in the path, when you're in God's arms, he's going to take care of you. Because his plan is not for destruction for us.
Amen, sister. Amen.
I'm like, I gotta rein it in because I'm one step away from like just starting to preach.
Oh yeah, I feel you, and I can relate in so many aspects because for me, walking away from work for me was the same. It was I want to be a mom. I don't want to miss out on those precious moments that are once in a lifetime with my beautiful children. And so, yeah, I can completely relate. And I love what you shared about how it's learning to walk in the Lord and in faith, even when it's hard and when things happen that you don't understand and it's not working out. And you're like, God, I thought you promised me this. What's happening? And God's like, wait for me. And it's crazy because I was just reading this morning in Psalms when David says that the Lord keeps those who wait on him. And so, yes, so amazing. So I this is kind of a little bit of a segue too, but as you got into this and you started speaking and growing your business, how did that transition to becoming an author? And talk a little bit about how that ended up happening. How did you become a best-selling author?
Yes. Well, it is what it is, right? Like it's not some great magical story for me. You'll learn if you spend much time with me. Most things that I do are logic based. And so as I started building my business and I discovered that the fastest, easiest way to grow a business is through public speaking, because we've been doing it our entire lives. You don't have to overthink it. We're communicating right now. Like if you're alive and healthy and breathing today, you've learned how to communicate to some level with people. And so the fastest, easiest way to build a business is to just do what you do naturally, do what you've been doing since the time you were a toddler. And so I started speaking and started growing my business. And I realized that one of the things in the speaking world that helps to establish your authority is to be an author. And so I was like, okay, because when you're a published author, people are like, okay, you've got something to say, right? You've been published. And the first book that I did was actually part of what came as part of one of the coaching programs that I was in. They gave you an opportunity to become a published author. Probably one of the ones that I'm the most proud of. It's called A Life Repurposed. And it was one I had to apply and submit writing samples in order to be a part of. Like they didn't choose everyone who submitted. And my story was chosen. And so I was able to become a part of that book. I've gone on now to do, I want to say 5 different books. Plus, I wish I had it close to me. I've got to get better at this. This past year, we published a journal that is about doing life with God every day. So it's a journal that you can write with. It's also a planner. So we have things planned out and give you opportunities to go deeper into your relationship with the Lord as you're building your business. So we published that this year. And we have another work that is coming up that I think you and I are going to talk about a little bit later on. So I won't just like let the air out of that sail. We'll leave that as a cliffhanger for right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. And thank you for sharing that. I love that journey of how it's just one step at a time and you did what the opportunities that came to you and had to apply them. And that's just so exciting. And I am definitely going to be getting a copy of that journal and planner because it is that time of year and I love those. So that's amazing. So one thing that you mentioned was that you really focus on helping people to grow business and, step into that expertise and authority. And, since our listeners are authors, for all our listeners, maybe you have also been wondering, is this really worth it for me? How can I make a book something that helps me grow and helps me really become what I envision for myself as an author? So Natalie, can you talk about how our listeners can turn that expertise inside of them into income so that they can create more impact and serve people and, have that authority and really just step into that place that they're looking for?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Great question. So when you're becoming an author, there's lots of different reasons people become authors, right? Some people just have a story they want to tell. They have a story maybe that they want to pass on to their family and they want it written down. They want it in that type of format so that it can continue to be passed on. Others, it's a movement. It's part of a movement. And for some of us, it's a positioning piece. It's an authority piece to help us grow our businesses. I think the be all end all of the book though is that, or what I caution people against is most people, unless you're a celebrity, you're not going to make a lot of money from your book. Your book is going to open doors for you to other opportunities, but it's not going to be a self-sustaining, ongoing, I wrote my book and now I'm done and I never have to work another day in my life type of investment. The doors that it opens for you can lead to incredible opportunities. It can lead to more stages. It can lead to more like joint venture projects and things like that, and so many more. What I like to do with my clients who have written books is look at what's God really put in your heart. What is it that you feel like he's calling you to do? For some people, they take their book and then they turn it into an online course, because there's something more, there's something deeper that's in that book that they just didn't have the page space or the method, the mode of delivery for that message that could be done in a book. So sometimes creating an online course from your book is a way to give more depth and more breadth to your topic, as well as create another revenue source. For other people, they really use their books as an opportunity to open the door to work with more people. So they're wanting to create a service. They want to create a coaching program, a training program, work with people one-on-one. Sometimes I see therapists using this model. It opens the door for them to get more business into their practice. And those are the models where you can substantially increase your income. You can use your book multiple different ways to create multiple different streams of income, whether it's working with people one-on-one, doing groups, doing retreats, doing weekends, doing courses, all of those different types of things. Those are the things that really add the dollar value to your repertoire, if you will. I call it your speaker suite, because it's the suite of programs and products that you use to build a healthy, thriving business and make an even bigger impact in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love everything you shared, because like you said, the book is kind of like the doorway, right? It's like the gateway that you have to walk through. And of course, overcoming that hump is one hurdle in and of itself. But then it's like you get through and you're like, oh, wow, okay, I'm stepping into this whole new world. And
Yes.
it's like, oh, I didn't realize that this was what could happen. And
Yes.
so I love everything you shared. And there's always some kind of opportunity for each person, because some people are like, oh, I want to do a course. Some people are like, no, I'd rather do retreats or whatever. There's different ones for different people. So I totally agree. I love that you shared that. And so I'm thinking about it, and we kind of already answered this question, but that kind of is the profit potential of a book, not the book itself, but on the back end when they're growing their business and they're looking at it for a more long-term perspective, right?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that Caitlin and I are going to share with you today is a bundle that I've created. It's called the Profit Potential Bundle, that will help you take a look at, okay, I've created my book, and there's a video training and everything that goes along with it, but I've created my book. Now, what else can I do with that book? How do I make an even bigger impact? How do I make even more income from the work that I've already done without having to like recreate the wheel? So this guide that she's going to give you will walk you through all of that. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the opportunities that do exist for you once you have your book created.
Absolutely. Yes. So don't worry, all our listeners, I will be leaving that in the description for you guys so that you guys can access that. So I highly recommend getting her Profit Potential Guide. So Natalie, as you're thinking about the fact that you have written so many or been part of so many books, and you have other projects coming up, which we'll explore here in a minute. What would be your top 1 to 3 pieces of advice for aspiring authors who are wanting to pursue that goal and they've just been blocked or stuck or haven't been able to make that progress so far? What would be your tips for them?
Number one is I know this comes as no surprise to anyone, but find someone like Caitlin who can help you get your message out. I tell a story in one of my trainings about many of life's greatest inventions, many of life's greatest discoveries. The wealthiest place on earth is the graveyard. Because there are so many things that God put inside of us to contribute to his world, to his creation, to one another. And because of the things that have happened in our lives, we get stuck in that fear. We get stuck in intimidation. We get stuck in, I don't think I'm good enough. And we take those things with us to the grave. And I think that's one of the saddest things that we could ever do. If I could be so bold, it's also one of the most selfish things that we could do, is to take that gift that God has put within us and refuse to share it with anyone else because we feel fearful. We feel not enough. And I don't say that because I want to guilt anyone. I don't want to shame anyone. I'm not trying to heap lumps of coal on anyone. I'm trying to help you see that it's not really about you. It's about what God wants to do through you. Mm-hmm. And so if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling frustrated, if you're feeling intimidated, anything that you're feeling short of, I am getting this book out there, connect with someone like Caitlin and let them help you bring light to the mucky, miry pit that you're in so that you can get that gift out. So that would be number one. Number two, I would say spend time with God and ask him, is this the end? Is getting my book produced all that I'm supposed to do, or is there something greater that you want to do through me? And just see what he has to say. And I know that in the culture, the coaching culture that many of us are in, it's like, yeah, you got to build an empire. You got to take this. That's not what God wants for all of us. That's not his best. Sometimes his best is in the quietness. Sometimes his best is in the stillness. And sometimes his best are in the minute details of everyday life that make a bigger impact than those people that are screaming from the mountaintop. So whatever it is that he's calling you to do, be open to that and listen to that, and don't feel like you have to be pressured to do anything else, anything more, or anything less than his best. And then I think that the third point is, so many people today, there's so much friction, there's so much tension, there's so much animosity in the world that we forget how important we are. And I just want to reiterate, and you can see this through the lens of a nurse who has been there and helped babies be born, as well as someone who's been there with people when they take their last breath. I've seen the fragility of life. I know how precious and how special life can be. And so I don't say it flippantly. I don't take it lightly when I say that your life matters. And when you can understand how much your life matters, then all that fear and frustration and intimidation, like that just starts to melt away. And it's like, God's got my back. It's time for me to step up. It's time for me to step out and take my own leap of faith, because there are people on the other side of this who are depending on me. I am a lifeline for the people who need me the most. So that's what I would encourage you. Let today be that day that you step up, that you step out in faith, and that you become the lifeline that God has created you to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was just hitting me as much as it was, I'm sure, for our listeners. Such excellent and wise points, and such encouraging words. While sometimes hard to take in, it's also like, wow, yes, this is so much bigger than just me. And I think that when we get outside of ourselves and we do get with God and we're like, God, what do you want to do through this? We make it about him and about the kingdom and about the other people in the world that we're supposed to be reaching out and impacting and encouraging, whatever it is, whether it be just our little kids at home or other people way out there. It really puts things in the right perspective, and it kind of makes all that other stuff kind of melt away, and you get focused on the right thing. And I love what you said on how you have to kind of take a leap of faith, because regardless of what venture you do, there's a little element of that to some degree, even just like getting in the car, or like having a baby, there's a leap of faith there that you're not going to get in an accident or something bad, like you trust that God's going to guide you through that, or keep you, I think probably each of us has things in our life that we don't even realize God protected us from, right? Yes. Or guided us in. And so that's such a great point too, because you have an upcoming work that is titled Leap of Faith. So talk to us about that and what it entails and what's going on. And it's your upcoming book. So I would love to hear more, and I'm sure our listeners would benefit as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk about this. So we have an upcoming book that's going to be launching. It's actually going to be launching late this spring, early summer. It's called Leaps of Faith, and it is the stories of authors, or the stories of women, men, coaches, speakers, whatever your walk of life is, but people that have found themselves taking a leap of faith. They know God's calling them to something, and it took a massive act of courage for them to do that thing. And when they leapt over that gap, they looked back after they got to the other side of it and they said, God was right there the whole time. Like, matter of fact, he built a bridge over that gap and I just had to walk over it, but you couldn't see it at the time. And so it's stories of people going through different experiences, different transitions in their lives that challenge them to take a leap of faith into the unknown. And then they found God right there in the middle of it, taking care of them along the way. So that is a project that is getting underway as we speak. And we have a couple seats available. If you are looking for that opportunity to be a part of your first book, be a part of your next book, if it's just something that's calling to your heart and you're like, I have a story that would fit perfectly in here to encourage someone else to whatever they're facing in their life, go for it full steam ahead if you know God's calling you to do it, because he's going to help you cover that gap. So we do have a few slots left if you're interested in having your story be a part of this book.
Amazing. And this is a book that I can't wait to come out. I can't wait to read it and just hear the stories. I know that, especially, working with you and with your team, that it's going to be an amazing book. And so I am definitely looking forward to that. So yes, for our listeners, make sure that you check that out. And if you have a story inside that will encourage and have that impact, and maybe you don't want to write a whole book by yourself, but you do want to share something and be a part, this is an excellent opportunity for you. So Natalie, can you just share about what people can expect by working with you and how they can learn more about you and further connect with you?
Absolutely. The best way to connect with me is to get on my calendar. You can go to callwithnatalie.com and just book a coffee chat with me. Let's just have a conversation and get to know one another a little bit better. And if we decide that we want to have a different conversation, something about working together, then we'll have another conversation about that at that time. See, one thing you got to know about me, sometimes my brain works faster than my mouth can keep up. And I'm just like, okay, let's slow it down, finish one sentence before you go on to the next. Working with me, I kind of feel like people say it's like fire and ice almost. They'll tell you Natalie knows when to push you and when to light the fire, and Natalie knows when to come alongside you and help you and hold your hand and guide you. I'm not one of those people that's like high octane all the time. God's really given me a gift of being able to read and be patient and find out what my clients need, and then to serve them in that way. And I think that's what people would say they love the most about me, and why my clients are so successful is because I will adjust to their needs, and they're not crammed into like a box, a program that they have to be stuck in. I really give them the space and the opportunity to bring to the table all of who they are, so that they can create their own programs, their own products, their own training services that highlight the best of who they are.
Yeah, I think that sounds absolutely amazing, and such an excellent opportunity for people who are looking for that help and that guidance and that right support, because I think having the right support from the right person literally makes a world of difference. Like, you could have a million of the wrong people and get nowhere, and then suddenly you have the right person and it's like, oh, I get it now. And you suddenly start making that dynamic progress, and I've had it happen to me, so many times. And so yes, that sounds amazing.
And Caitlin, I just want to highlight something that you say there. It's something also that I've experienced in my own journey, in that one of my coaches used to say, alignment precedes assignment. If you really want to know what God's up to in your life and for your future, make sure you're in alignment with the people that you're surrounding yourself with. If you're a believer, make sure that the people who are pouring into you, who are pouring into your business, pouring into your coaching, are also aligned believers. And you will get that assignment, and you will make much faster progress. So I'm glad you really brought that up.
Yeah. I mean, you are spot on. And I have personally been learning the value of that much more deeply recently. And it's just amazing the shift that happens when you do get in alignment with God and with the right people. And it's like God's like, okay, you finally got yourself in the right place. And so it makes such a difference. So for all my listeners, if you want to be a part of the Leaps of Faith book that is coming up, get in quickly, because they're going to be starting soon. And so you want to make sure that you are right in with the people working on the book, and that you get your story in. But make sure that you check out the description for the link, and you get with Natalie if you want to learn more about her. I will include all of those details in the description for you guys. And Natalie, thank you again so much for joining me on the podcast.
Absolutely, Caitlin. Thank you for inviting me to be your guest. It's been a joy and a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Amazing. And for all my listeners, thank you so much also for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review wherever you're listening from, and I will see you guys on the next one.